How you doing? This is Dan. We're going to repair this piece of molding. This is off the top of a hutch. You see this molding right here has been broken off, and I'm going to teach you how you take a little piece of carved wood, a few simple tools, and a little bit of bondo, and you put this all together. Now what I did is I cut a little bit of a triangular piece of wood that's going to fit right into that opening right there, and I'm going to have all these gaps and everything, but I'm going to fill them in and carve them in with bondo and then touch the color up so it's perfect. Okay, what I've done is I've made a little block of wood here, and I've coated it with painter's tape on one side so I don't get any stickage. I've put a line down it, that's going to mimic my line down here, and I put a little two-sided tape right here on the edge. And I'm going to use that to stick that to the bottom of my piece so that I can go ahead and attach it there, and it'll give me a nice guideline to run everything to. So I got my line right here. I'll go right over here to this side. I'll move into the frame a little bit, get my line all set, push my tape down. Now my piece is on. Now I've got a little bit of a guide that I could use. So when I attach my piece here, this will hold in place. I can push this tight to the bottom, that'll equal me with the bottom, and then I've got my line right there that's telling me where my edge is, and I could use that to adjust the thickness of my piece right there. There we go, all set. What I'm using is an auto body filler, just common bondo as my adhesive. It's a great adhesive, and it's going to fill up a bunch of gaps for me. So I'm just going to mix up a little bit of it here, smear it on my spot, and then we're going to use it to attach, and we're going to actually use it to rebuild this corner up. So I know putting bondo on furniture isn't a very common solution, but it's a great material. If it can hold up on your car going down the road, it will most definitely hold up on a piece of furniture, and be very liberal with it. Don't worry about it getting it on the other pieces or anything. It'll peel right off, and we're gonna have to sand and sculpt later. I'm gonna put a little extra on my piece here, and it dries very quickly. So what I could do is once I have it in place, I could put a little piece of adhesive tape on there, let it hold for a few minutes, and then boom, I'm ready to continue work. So this looks very sloppy. That's why I got my gloves on. What I want is I want my piece here as my guide. My other piece right there. I'm gonna line that up. Line up my bottom piece. I could take my thumb, work this right in here, work my little cove in there, and there we go. And with a little bit of luck, I can let go of this whole thing and let it dry just like that. When I'm done, I'm going to take this back piece off, clean this off here, and sand this down and get it to fit in. Alright, now our bondo's dry. It's been about 10 minutes. I'm going to stick my knife in. I'm slowly going to work this up and away. Pull my back off. This piece out of the way. Now I know I'm flat to the back here. I'm going to test my piece. Now that bad boy's on there. Okay, so he's good and strong. So I'm just going to take my utility knife and start getting rid of my extra bondo here. You could use whatever you want to use. Sandpaper, you can use a block plane. I use my utility knife for everything except for maybe brushing my teeth. It's handy, it works great. Now we got this cleaned away so we can sand the rest of it. We have some bondo on our finish up here. We're not going to worry about that. We're going to take that off with a little denatured alcohol and peel it off. What we have to do is recreate this profile right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to copy it from the other side of the piece. So we're going to go over there in a second. I'm going to show you how to trace it on a piece of paper and make a little template that'll help you drag the bondo into place and sculpt it right into place. Okay, this is just a cheap gift card. I put a little white masking tape so I can see my line. I'm going to use this to make my little guide right here. So I'm going to line the top of this up with this edge here. Draw this little mark in here. I really don't need it, but what I need is this profile right here. So with a good sharp point on my pencil, I'm going to trace it right in. Now I'm going to cut out this part, and this part right here is what I'm going to use to make my new shape. Okay, what I have right here is my cutout. It took me a few tries, so it'll probably take you a few. I ended up using my utility knife, my trusty utility knife, but what I've got is very close to this shape right here. And I'm going to bring it over to the other side, and I'm going to use the other side of this to drag the shape and get a good position. Okay, here we are. We're back over on our repair side. I'm mixing up my next batch of bondo here. I tend to go real quick with this so it sets up quick. I want it nice and loose so I can actually drag my piece through, drag my little profile through. I get it in there nice and goopy. I'm not going to worry about extra. I want to get it deep inside of that, right in that crevice right there. There we go. Now I'm going to take my piece. I've got it lined up here. I've already done my test with it. I'm going to just take it and I'm going to just slide it gently down. I'm going to let it pull that shape into the bondo. And there's my profile right there. Now I'm okay with that for right now. I'm going to take a lid a little bit more right here in the center. And a little bit, looks like I'm a little bit scant right up here at the top. And we can drag this more than once and see where we need to add it and where we need to cut some. And as we work with this, it's going to get a little bit stiffer, a little bit harder. I'm going to clean the edge of my profile off. Make sure you wear rubber gloves. And try to drag this up this way. There we go. Start at the bottom. I'm going to drag it down. There's my cove. I see my cove right there taking shape. Beautiful. One more time through. Then we're going to let this harden. We're going to fill it in. That's what I want right there. It's a little bit bumpy, but it's got me real close to home. Very happy with the way it looks. One more coating through and we'll have this profile almost perfect. All right, and what I did is I sanded this down with a little 100 grit sandpaper. I had a couple little holes in there. I went back with my razor blade, just a regular old razor blade like this, mixed another batch of bondo and filled it in this way. Then I sanded it with my 220. I'm just finishing up my sanding now. So we're getting real close here. And to give you a good idea, this is just a little denatured alcohol. You can get any place. That'll just help me clean my dust up. And that's what we're looking at. So we're about to fill in a few little more holes and go to pre-color. All right, what I'm doing now is just dropping a little color on my piece right here. So this is going to be layer on layer on layer. And right now what I did is I already dropped my red in there. So I've got a good base of red underneath, and it's actually more of an orange that I used. And now I've gone over it with a little bit of a brown. Try to blend it all in, and I'm going to hit it with a little sealer to really pull it out. Now you can use any colors you want. You can use oil-based paints and coat them with an oil-based poly, and then just spray a little spray poly on top of them to get your colors out of there. Let them sit up. I did that for years and years and years. We have a lot of blacks like this, and we have lines going this way, and I'll get those all drawn in once I get my base where I'm saying, okay, that really looks like the piece. So right now I'm toning down my orange, and when I tone it down with the brown, it's going to give it a little bit more of that color, and I'll start to put in a bunch of those little grain lines. The key is just practice on a piece that you can throw away. Your edges, usually you can get away with being a little bit darker, like right up here on these corners, so it's a good way to start. Get your corners drawn in, and then get your lines drawn in, and just work through the piece a little bit at a time. Now I'll do 7 or 8 different layers on this and before I pull it all the way home. Okay, we're putting down our final varnish coat on here. I'm using a little bit of a gloss on this. It's a pretty glossy piece. I got my colors good. I blended it all in. Honestly, I had to go back and forth 3 or 4 times because I wasn't happy. So don't be afraid to sand off your work. Go back, be a little tough on yourself. But also at the end of the day, realize that you're always going to be your hardest critic. So sometimes you just gotta take a chance and say, okay, that's close enough. So considering that this is bondo in here, I think we got a pretty good faux finish. We'll drop this on top of the piece. The customer will be very happy. Be a fantastic job.